Absolutely. Okay, so this is Group 9's.
It still says off air.
Yeah.
Does it?
It does.
That's on my up there. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we are live.
Yep.
This is Group 9's Week 6 discussion. And I get the opportunity to be the facilitator, if you will, on this. I think before we get into the weekly topics, is there anything that we're feeling like we need to discuss?
No? Just,
Melanie,
should we, I was thinking that to get ahead on the doohickeys thing, we should already assign who's going to be with who for the next 3 weeks, so that whoever's working on this week on recruitment for the problem for doohickeys can start working on it this week. And then whatever the topic is next week, they can work on that, and the third week, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. That was one thing that we needed to talk about, and I think references was another, how we reference our articles and information. Melanie mentioned that she wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, for our references for the paper, I feel like most of you guys just kind of give me a website address. And so I actually had to go back and individually look up all 20 websites and try to find some sort of author or the date that it was published or, you know, something like that to kind of put together a reference page. So that kind of took a while. So maybe we can try and be a little bit better about recording our references and maybe finding references that are a little more scholarly, if that's the word.
Yeah, like from journals and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Sounds good. Will do.
Okay, so we're wanting to group up differently this time, right? We didn't want to work with the same people.
Yeah, let's switch it up. Sounds good.
Okay. So
I would love to take this week.
I can as well.
Okay, so I'm with
Is
Eric.
that Eric?
Yeah.
I'd like to do the next week one that's on teamwork. Or not teamwork, sorry, training.
You said on training?
Yeah.
Okay. Melody and Vanessa, any interest in doing the training as well with Zane?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And that leaves Melanie and I for week 8. All right.
Sorry, my thing was cutting out. Is that you, me and Susan?
Yes.
You and Susan for the last week, yeah.
For
whatever
week
the
8,
topic
okay.
is that last week.
Okay.
Week 8.
And I haven't had a chance.
Training is next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Eric mentioned that he would like to be group leader next week. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So Zane, you're okay being group leader on week 8?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that Thanksgiving week as well? I never looked it up, but somebody said that it was the week the doohickeys was due the same week as Thanksgiving. Does anybody have it?
I think that's Halloween. The week of Halloween.
Oh, no big deal
Yeah.
then. It's the next paper that's due on Halloween.
It's
That
the
makes
third
sense.
paper.
Yeah. Okay.
So do we all get to wear costumes to that meeting?
I think that would be great. That would be perfect.
It's a Monday, so yeah. Okay. All right.
So
We're
has
all set with doohickeys then. That's great.
Yep, it looks like it. So has everyone had a chance to read the material for tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put a timer here so that we can stay on camera. So forgive me for that. All right. So imagine that you are bankers at Super Saturday. I'm supposed to ask you to vote on which 2 candidates that you would hire out of the 4 that were in the SG Cowan final group. and I can name them off. There it is. Natalia Gadluska, Martin Street, Ken Goldstein, and Andy Sanchez.
Okay. I would hire Natalia and Andy.
I would hire actually the experienced guy. Was he Ken? The mature guy, I mean. Mature guy, Ken.
Who was that one?
Do we elaborate on our choices now or
What was
later
his name?
on?
You know what? Let me, I say let's elaborate now. Vanessa, why would you hire the mature guy?
What's his name?
Well, because
Sorry.
I
His name is-
understand that one of the concerns in that paragraph, one of the recruiters' concern was that, oh, he has a life, and we don't expect the first year associates to have any life. Like they need to be willing to work 24/7. But I think that people that have families, they can be even more driven to be more efficient, even if they have their personal lives. I mean, because I think that's a judgment that, it's judging somebody. Oh, they have a kid, so they're not going to be as hardworking. That's passing judgment, and it's not the right way to go about trying to hire the best talent to your company or the best fit to your company, because it seems like he has the credentials, the academics, the experience, he has the personality that can fit in, and then and let's face it, he has the responsibilities on his personal life to push him to become better, efficient, and successful, because he has a family to take care of. So I would personally, as a recruiter, I wouldn't see that as a bad thing. I would see like, okay, he fits the bill, and whatever else he's bringing in to the company, experiences on his personal side, it's not a bad thing.
I thought he was a great candidate as well. Have you ever known an investment banker?
Me personally?
Yeah. Anybody?
No.
They
Not
work
not the
24/7.
New York types.
So I would feel sad for his family. Honestly, they
Right.
do not see their families ever.
Mm-hmm.
They work,
especially
nonstop,
Wall Street, huh?
all the time.
Yeah.
So I would feel bad for his wife, but other than that, she's
But
on
that's
her
his
own.
career choice, right? I mean,
Right.
He's already in the field. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's what he wants to do. And we had a good friend when we lived in Japan, and he was an investment banker, and he retired at 35.
Wow.
He was
Wow.
making $5 million a year. Yes.
Wow. Maybe that's my career path.
So his kids didn't see him while they were little, but he was around. They had 6 kids.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Margaret, why is it that you would choose Natalia and Andy?
With Natalia is kind of why Vanessa said, the guy, they were pushing him. The concern was his family. With Natalia was her English and her accent and all that stuff, but I think she's very qualified for the position. She seems very driven and smart. And with Andy, I liked him because he's an entrepreneur and he's a go-getter, and I think he would be a great asset. They were concerned about his GPA, but I can see why his GPA was low, because he was, having a very successful business on the side.
Right.
So, anyway, that's my 2.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would also go with Natalia, and I would go with Martin. Natalia mainly because she seems to be exactly what they're looking for. The only job I can win is her language, and which even that doesn't make sense because someone had referred her as the person that they would bring to a tough negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, if you negotiate well, you can be understood really well.
Right.
I recommend her, and then Martin, even though he didn't have any business experience, I think the leadership that had in the military would be worth running. Plus, there's benefits to hiring veterans. So
Oh, good point. Okay, so let's look at the next question. What other information do you feel like would be useful in making this specific decision? Was everything covered in our paragraphs of information about the candidates themselves?
I don't know.
I think they did a pretty good job. I mean, they had talked to their references, so they do have, they did get recommendations, talk to people that had worked with the individuals. They know about their studies, so I don't know. I don't know what else.
Maybe
do
like
they-
their future goals, like what they want to do eventually, because I don't think everyone just wants to stay an associate forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Do
That's a great
they
idea.
talk about their maybe their extracurricular or anything they have done besides the school stuff and work stuff?
One of them wasn't one of them like a triathlete and a marathon
Yes.
runner?
Was
So
it
I guess they did.
Was it Andy?
I think Martin. No, is it the military guy?
Let me see.
Yeah,
It is.
it
Martin.
was them.
Yeah.
I think Andy was the
I'm sorry, Martin. Yeah.
Andy's like more the entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think it was Martin that
Martin. Yes, that's right.
the triathlon. Yeah, he did 2 marathons and 1 triathlon.
Yeah. Because I think the extracurricular or the outside, experiences outside of work and school, if I don't know how interested the bank is in finding out, about these things, because they really tell a lot about the person's personality. A triathlete, for example, I mean, that's somebody that for sure knows how to, go through mental hurdles and still get to the finish line. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, anyways.
One thing that I was thinking as we're talking about this, I can't remember who mentioned it, feeling sorry about the family not being involved. I think it was you, Margaret. In hiring, anyone who's in a hiring position has to be very careful about what types of questions that they ask. And I have to wonder if I don't want to say a discrimination can come about by, say, not hiring someone who's got young families. This has nothing to do with our discussion questions. It was just the thought that crossed my mind as we were talking. What are your understandings of what's allowed as far as questions go?
Well, there's a lot of things they're not allowed to ask, like
right.
a woman, if she's planning to get pregnant or whatever.
Yeah, and so here some of the interviewers are concerned about him because he's got a young family, and could potentially even be adding to that family and have too much of a life outside to be able to work as hard as they would like him to work. Okay, so not talking about the candidates themselves for interviewing, but actually talking about those that are employed by SG Cowan. What would you want to know about the type of person who can succeed at SG Cowan?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. The question is, what would you want to know about the type of person who can actually succeed at SG Cowan?
I mean,
I would want to
a
know
lot
what
of that kind of stuff was covered in the case. So,
okay.
I mean, they talk about how, they need to be personable and they need to be willing to work hard and, to be able to sell things, you have to, be mentally tough. in that kind of world.
Okay.
I think it'd be good to know like their problem solving skills. I don't remember if it was mentioned in there, but I think that would be good. I'd want to know like how, like maybe ask them a question like in their one of their past jobs where they worked, like if a problem came up, like how did they handle it and how they took care of it.
Right, and that actually relates to our reading this week. It's called Behavioral Event Interviewing. So that's perfect, Eric.
I would also want
Anyone-
to know, sorry, I would also want to know how well they perform under pressure, because they will have a lot of pressure put on them.
Okay.
But I would figure, given the intensity of this job, that they would be, asking questions like the behavioral, process. What's it called again? I forget. But anyways, because you know how they were giving us on that tax tab, the specific questions about, tell me one, moment or situation where so they're bringing things from the past experience, not just, how would you react to something? They don't want to know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that given the intensity of this job, that these recruiters would be asking these questions, or, trying to get from the past experiences how they overcame certain things or how they handle certain situations, and so on, so on, so on, right?
Right.
When you think that.
Well, and so my ex is he's a former state trooper. And part of the interviewing process for being within law enforcement is a polygraph test, as well as a wide battery of various personality tests. I have to wonder, I don't recall reading in the SG Cowan if they were put under any sort of testing process, specifically to be selected, including even, I don't want to say a polygraph test, but maybe a psychological exam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think some of those tests you have to be careful as an employer. I mean, as law enforcement, you can graph, but as a private employer, I don't know what they'd even be legal to test for. I mean, other places that have like competency tests for that field.
Uh-huh.
I worked for T-Mobile and I had to take a test about how cell phones worked and that kind of thing. But as far as psychological stuff, I probably would have turned them down if they tried to.
I was going to say that too. Like, I think that would be a big turnoff for a really good qualified. I mean, for the desperate that wants any job, that they'd go with, they would accept whatever. But like, if it was me, I'm like, I have to go through a polygraph, or I have to do, like that would be a turnoff, I think, for the, because the recruiters need to be selling the company as well as trying to find. You need to, not everybody is desperate. Some people are, are getting offers from several different places. So you gotta try to attract the talent and sell the company to the candidate. So I don't know. In psychological tests, also, I think because they do everything on the whole hiring process apparently is done in one Saturday. So I think it would be hard for them to go through so many applicants and candidates. Besides the interviewing process and all of the stuff that they do, the 30-minute interviews and all of that. And then on top of that, trying to analyze somebody psychologically, I don't think they would have time to do it all on Saturday. But it's, it's food for thought, I guess.
It absolutely is. I know that in even hiring for the church, we had to do the color personality test.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was interesting. But it would be interesting to find out and maybe that will be covered in the future as part of this class or as part of another class, as far as legal processes that employers can take to weed out candidates that might not be their best fit. Okay, so we can actually move on to the second section. And I'm just going to reset the timer just so that I stay on track. Forgive me for that. Why is there so much disagreement between the senior bankers in the Saturday meeting about which recruits to hire?
Well, I think when you bring a lot of different people together, I mean, you bring a lot of different personalities and backgrounds. So, like, we're going to have things that are more important to us than others. I feel like we may look at the guy who has the family. We're like, well, we see that as being a positive, where obviously some other people think that as a negative. So, and I think they mentioned, like, you know, depending on what school they're from, they might be like, oh, he's from Cornell and I'm from Cornell, I think we should go with him.
Right.
I just think there's a lot of bias stuff going on.
I would agree. Any other comments?
I don't have any.
Okay. Do you feel like then the disagreement that's occurring is partly because of the interview process itself?
Well, you know,
Is the question like their specific process or just the interview process in general?
Their
Because I think
refers to their, right? To the way they do
their
it.
specific process. It's SG Cowan's. We were just talking about why the senior bankers had such varying opinions on who they wanted to hire, or varying concerns even about the candidates.
I wonder if the pressure to pick or to give your, you know, like to give your recommendation to the right, to, you know, the recommendation about the right person, the right candidate, because I guess a lot of the recruiters are also concerned about their own reputation, which is, of course, it's part of their job, so they should, just as they should. But I think maybe that, you know, in a way affects, I don't know, puts a little more pressure on the, you know, so maybe they go into these interviews already with a preconception of who, you know, they want to hire, the type of person or the candidates. I don't know if they see the candidates. I mean, they probably do see their resumes and stuff before they go into the interviews, but maybe they go into these interviews with a preconception of what they want to hear and what they want to see, because they're like, no, this is the type of person I need to give my recommendation to,
Right.
because I don't want to look bad. So I don't know. So sometimes, so then that is a good thing, because you should have an idea of who you want to hire. But on the other hand, it can actually close your mind to somebody that can actually surprise you and wow you, because you're already like set on your preconception of what the ideal candidate is. I don't know. Makes sense.
Okay.
yeah, even in the Texas, they had they got bonuses and stuff for hiring good people, and it's probably based on their performance. Who haven't performed for you in the past, you're not going to hire somebody that like them. So I think that's what's causing, and is they've each experienced different personalities with either method.
Yep, I would agree with that. Any other thoughts?
I was going to say someone that kind of stands out to me is that Andy Sanchez guy. That I think for me, if I was to come into an interview and see that he had a 2.8 GPA, I think that would automatically kind of put me biased towards him. Like, okay, all these other people have like 3.8s and they're the top of their class. You know, like I feel like that would kind of put me a little bit biased. But I don't know. You hear about all those stories of all these great business people that did poorly in school, and you know, it's like I feel like his background, I mean, he's enthusiastic and personable, and He obviously is an entrepreneur and he's driven. So I think sometimes if you talk to people and have an open mind, you can actually kind of find those people that can do something really good for your company.
Yeah.
So in the textbook reading from the Harvard Business School, and this actually doesn't relate to the question, it relates to what I just asked you about. It talked about limiting your interviewers to like 3 or 4, so that, and that 3 or 4 may be a little high in number, so that you don't have such a mix of biases and different opinions. Do you feel like that would have aided the process? I mean, granted, it wouldn't have been able to have been done all in one Saturday, probably with only 4 individuals involved, but
That could help, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they had more time,
And I think there's one of the questions on our student section for us to kind of think about for our discussion. And it says what improvements could be done, right? Isn't there one of those questions to the hiring process? And perhaps more time, maybe instead of just a super Saturday, like maybe a super weekend. And I don't know, I'm sure that would incur costs and time, and I don't know if that would be doable or not. But definitely trying to get to know candidates personally, analyzing as a group, individually, as a recruiter, and then as a group, and then making a decision by lunchtime, come to a consensus by lunchtime. I mean, that's, I don't know, it seems like very rushed, but if it's working for them and they're able to find the people that they need to find, great.
right.
But maybe ideally they could have maybe a weekend set out for this kind of process.
Well, and to add to it, they were dealing with a snowstorm, which was potentially going to affect travel.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there was even some volatility and concern about that contributing to the fighting. Not fighting, but
The disagreement.
agreeing.
It's just interesting to me. Like my husband, for the last job he got, he had, like his initial interview and then a second interview and then a third interview. It's just mind-boggling that they just do it on one day. But I guess they interview with several I guess they interview individually.
Right.
With
so,
them, right? Is that what they did? So it is like having, like the recruits are having like 10 interviews all in one day or something like that, right?
yes. So my understanding was that each of the interviewing board interviewed each of the candidates. And really, it's the cream of the crop that's being invited to this Super Saturday, and the recruiters from each of the schools that's inviting these candidates to come to Super Saturday based on their interest in their company, even their ability or willingness to fly out to the company to get to know the company and get to know how it runs. Which, if you don't have the funds to do that, could be detrimental to your career.
And you could be losing out on candidates that don't have the money, but they would do great if they were there.
Okay, so it talks about, might there be better ways to learn about candidates than traditional interviews? What else might they try?
Well, use technology, I don't know, FaceTime, Skype, Hangout.
Well, and companies are doing this now. They're looking at the person's social, like their Facebook page, and seeing what they're involved in. That that's why they're like, you need to be careful what you post because it's on the web forever.
Everyone Facebook stalks.
Yeah.
I actually have a friend that he's a divorce lawyer, and well, not a friend, but somebody I know, and he said that before a client even comes in his office, the first thing he does is check their Facebook, for both spouses, because he's like, many times, I just have a case, or I just won my case, or whatever, the situation might be, just by the way the person is on Facebook. Like, Facebook is huge. People don't understand that, but it can be a deal breaker for so many things.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Even for college.
Yeah.
Yeah, even college applicants, yeah, sometimes, yeah, they look at their pages, at their social media as well. It's out there, so.
But see, so some of the other things that were mentioned in this have applicants demonstrate the ability to do certain jobs, have them spend a whole day with someone to see what the job is like, have them do internships, do the interviews, but focus on behavioral questions, and we've already talked about that. Like, tell me about a time when you disagreed with your boss. What did you do? And then the final comment was, have interviewers ask the same question and evaluate applicants based on the same criteria.
Good idea.
What did you feel the criteria was for choosing candidates at SG Cowan?
I don't know. Did the case really talk about actual criteria, or was it just more of like, I don't know, whoever fits the bill, I guess?
Yeah, to me it seems like there wasn't a set criteria.
Mm.
I wasn't sure if someone else had found it.
No, just from looking at the notes on the different candidates, like past notes from the recruiter guy, like they had positives as, like, people wrote notes on them, and like wasn't upbeat, or good attitude, or a negative is no accounting skills. A good attitude was a positive thing. So I don't know, just good attitude, smart. They obviously want people that are smart. They're picking from good schools with the top of the class, and they want them to be financial. Yeah, I don't know. Financially savvy.
There's actually a section on the thing that talks about hiring criteria, and it mainly talks about wanting someone that doesn't have to be told what to do. They can do their own job. They want to be there, and then talks a lot about like personality and that they'd be willing, if the personality is right.
I see it's on page 7. It says hiring criteria. Yeah.
So they go ahead, Zane.
Oh yeah, it says personality and sparkle. So they're looking for sparkle, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that means is right. Some people's sparkle can be annoying. Going back to the questions. How do senior bankers know what they are supposed to be looking for in the candidate? Do you think that there's any sort of training that happens for the senior bankers? Do they get together and discuss it, or is it just kind of an individual evaluation based on what they've experienced in the past?
Well, in that same section that Zane was talking about, it says that Ray tried to formalize the criteria and made grid sheets for the bankers to fill out, and having them vote on each candidate.
I did see that grid sheet. I was just looking at that. And interestingly enough, that they don't give us any notes from any of the bankers with the grid sheets. The notes are
from past candidates.
Very succinct on the agenda.
Yeah, that's true. They're on the agenda.
it doesn't seem to me like those bankers actually utilized this sheet, which makes it hard to compare notes.
Right.
So this would just be a question to ponder. Are these really good criteria to use, fit or sparkle? Or do they just encourage those hiring to feel good about their bias towards people just like themselves? I think there was a section in the HSB reading that talks about how sometimes individuals are hired because maybe there's something negative about the interviewer that they see within that person that they're interviewing. Okay, so moving on to the next section, school recruiting. Deciding which business schools to recruit at was controversial. Why was the choice of which schools to recruit at so important to SG Cowan? If I remember correctly, they had been competing within the top 10 schools and decided that they weren't getting the cream of the crop because they were competing with firms that might have been able to offer more or might have, a better standing, if you will. And so they decided to look at schools, the next 15 schools. So like school rating 10 through 25.
Yeah, the top 25, yeah.
15 to 25, yeah.
So that they could take the cream of the crop from those schools.
I think that's actually really smart
Right.
to do that. I mean, it just, again, it's opening up your mind to, people that you probably wouldn't give really a shot. I mean, even the really good students on the 15th school all the way through the 25th business school in the nation, these are really smart people, So, I mean, they're not really losing opportunities. They're just giving opportunities to more people, to people that probably wouldn't get that. So I think that was very smart. And you can always polish the talent, right? If you have people that are academically accomplished from good reputable school and okay, so they're not from Harvard or Wharton Business School, but they're still from very, very solid schools and a solid student. You polish that talent, you make it better, you can improve it. And if you're that kind of company that you can actually, work with a human being and improve that human being, I mean, that makes you the place where people want to be at because you feel appreciated as an employee. You feel like you have room for growth and you have a support to make you do your job better. So it actually helps retain that kind of attitude. I mean, helps retain the talent within the company because it's being groomed, per se.
I agree with you. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. So the next question is, would it make sense for SG Cowan to recruit from other graduate programs like law or technology? Why or why not?
Wasn't one of them a lawyer? One of the bankers?
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
like the very top banker guy, he used to be a lawyer.
Right. And then he decided he didn't love it, even though he was good at it. So maybe it would be worth looking into it.
So wasn't it SG Cowan wasn't this the company that like they're focusing specifically on technology and like
Yeah, find
kind of that
breakout entities.
Yeah. So I think probably having someone in that field would probably be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I would agree with you. Did SG Cowan change from the core school strategy now that it's in, sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Should SG Cowan change from the core school strategy now that it's an employer's market again? It says they could probably go back to the top 10 schools and actually get applicants now.
Just because they get applicants, though, I still think that there's a good chance of them not accepting the job. You know, they go through all that work, but then they'd end up going with some other company, and, you know, SG Cowan would have been wasting their time.
I would try to analyze their success or failures in this hiring process. Like, is it working out? Are they able to get really good talent? Are they retaining the talent? And if so, then keep doing what you're doing, you know, if things are working out for you. Anyways,
I was going to say the same thing, to see how their previous hires are doing, and if they're doing well, then, you know, if everything's going well with those kind of recruits, then keep going with it, you know.
Yeah, because isn't it until they fully integrate the new hire, like that's, you know, they look at that and see the success rate for full integration and retention of the talent they hired. So yeah, look at that and see if there needs to be a change.
I'd also be careful too if you change your hiring process just because it's an employer's market. Are you going to have any loyalty issues going back when it's no longer an employer's market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a great way to look at it. Okay, so how do you feel, or what do you feel are the pros and cons to SG Cowan's approach to recruiting actually on campus?
Well, the pro, I think, is just getting to know people and putting your brand out there too, and say, hey, you know, selling your brand to the people out there, because you got to sell your company. You got to make it, you know, so that people are interested, so you can attract the best talent. The cons, I don't know. I really like the personable, or, you know, having somebody kind of scouting for talent like they do in sports. I mean, it's, you know, it's not a bad thing.
They talk about the cost is worth it in the end. I don't know. I can't think of any other cons other than the company has to pay to go to all these places, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like when you work with clients and you take them to lunch and you take them to a ball game just because you want to get the deal done. I mean, it's just part of the expenses. It's just part of the game, you know.
The expense of running the business.
Yeah.
And building.
And it's tax deductible.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the associates are actually the best people to send to campuses for recruiting? To go along with that question, since no one's piped in yet, what about saving money and getting a more uniform type process by sending recruiters from the HR department?
I think the associates are a better choice, because they know what they can present better what the company's about and answer the questions about what the job would involve better than an HR recruiter could.
We're gonna find out who they hired.
No, actually, I was looking for that. I was hoping for that. It does not give us that information this time around. Yeah, which I found interesting. Okay, anyone else feel differently about sending associates versus HR type individuals?
I like the associates better.
Okay. All
I agree.
right. I think my only concern with that, again, would be going to liability. Is the company potentially leaving itself open for liability based on things that might be promised or things that are discussed? And maybe that can just be addressed in like a training. You have to go through a training as an associate with human resources about what you can and can't say, what you can and can't offer. Okay, so we've decided associates over HR. What about associates over senior bankers?
I think the explanation on that text was perfect. Like the senior managers or bankers, they are so detached from, the everyday challenges or routines from the first year associates that will not recognize the skills, for the candidates or the recruits. They probably won't be able to identify it as well as somebody that has done that just recently.
Right.
So I think that's a good way to see it.
Also the cost, just as it's more expensive to send the associates versus the HR, it would be a lot more to send the big wigs.
Yeah, the senior
The
bankers.
bankers want to go golfing.
Yeah.
They sure do. I've got a friend who's in mortgage banking, and there are way too many times where he posts that he's on a golf course.
It's
part of the business.
I don't get the appeal. I don't get the appeal of golfing. I don't understand it. You guys probably like it. I'm not criticizing. I just don't understand the appeal.
I understand, but that's because I haven't done much golfing. My extent of golfing is miniature golf. So,
But even miniature golf, as short as it is, like I'm like, okay, am I done? Okay, it's hole number 3, and I'm like, am I done? Am I done?
that's funny. All right, so our next section actually talks about Super Saturday itself. What do you feel are the objectives of Super Saturday?
Time.
Kind of a weeding out session.
Okay, so we said weeding out. Vanessa, I think you said something, but I don't know what it was.
It's the time constraint. It's like really short to make the, I don't know, decisions. But what do I know? I don't even have a job.
You will. And you do have a job. You are definitely very well employed.
I'm definitely busy. I'm not trying to say I'm not busy, but I'm just saying I'm just not in the real world yet. I live in a bubble. You know what I mean? With the little kids, you live in a bubble.
Absolutely. Okay, so Super Saturday is really just a weeding out process.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's so like everyone gets an opinion on all the candidates, that it's not like, you're really bringing everyone together so that you kind of get a good general well-rounded, I guess, everyone gets to have some input.
Okay. Perfect.
And it's very fresh in their memory, the candidates, they see them all the same day. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Related to that, it being very fresh, do you think them not using, say, the form that Ray completed or created, do you think they can actually mentally keep track of each candidate? Do you think there could be some potential confusion between candidates if they're interviewing as many as they're interviewing?
I think it'd be hard to keep everything straight for how many people that they meet up with.
Hopefully they're taking good notes. They don't have to follow that particular grid, but hopefully they're writing on their resumes. I'm sure they get confused at some points. I mean, anybody who's been shown 4 homes knows that after the 5th home, you don't remember which one was what.
Exactly.
Did you guys look through the notes, the exhibits at the end?
Mm-hmm.
So they seem to be pretty, they seem to be pretty good notes, but maybe they could get confused still. I mean, you can still get confused. But yeah.
It's pretty limited when, let's say, for example, you're interviewing someone and something, strikes you about the person. You write that down, say personable. But you might not be thinking about all the areas that are listed on that grid sheet that Ray created. And so one person might think of something related to that, and another person might think of another area, but you're not covering all of the determining factors, if you will, that Ray is hoping you to be looking at.
Right.
But this is great insight for, I don't know how many of you are going to go into HR, but I'm assuming that we will all be in a job interview, in sometime in the future. But this is really great insight for all of us to prep for these interviews, and even how we present ourselves in our resumes and cover letters and stuff like that.
Yep.
Because if you don't stand out, people are not going to remember you.
Stand out.
If you don't have something unique, I mean, if you just, and just go for the regular skills and basic, a people person, or, people skills or communication, and just the broad general, I'm like, they're just gonna move over, to the next person. So.
Right.
Make it unique too about this, because I was looking back at the paper, and in the Super Saturday section, it talks about how they're actually interviewing people to just be investment bankers, and then they come back in April to be assigned to a specific group. It would be hard as an interviewer in their specific job that they're going to go to, what section of investment banking. They're just looking for a general investment banker, which would make it really hard to find a good fit when you don't know where they're going to end up.
That's a very valid point. Okay, so last couple of questions related to interviewing and recruiting. Do you think there would have been better ways to structure the on-campus interviewing and recruiting?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. And then the Super Saturday approach, you feel like it's a good way to interview your candidates? I think for the most part, I've heard that we should have more time, that there should be more time to do this.
It's stressful. It just sounds so stressful. I would be like a nervous wreck, like going to The Voice audition. It just adds to the stress. And when you have people that are stressed out, candidates that are stressed, I mean, you don't get the best out of them. So I don't know if this is, again, if they're having success, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But just that, it just seems like a stressful environment for everybody involved. Recruiters and recruits.
Maybe they do it on purpose, though, to put them under pressure, kind of put them in that environment a little bit.
That's a good point.
Get them out of their comfort zone.
Okay, so there's a show that I got hooked on last year, Grey's Anatomy, and one of the, I know, sad.
It's been around for a long time.
It has been around for a long time, but I just got hooked on it via Netflix last year. And one of the processes for interviewing for placement as a resident at a hospital is an interview process where you have to walk through the steps or processes for specific surgeries or how you would deal with something. And for some of the doctors, it was make or break time for them. Others, no problem. But for some of the doctors, it's, granted, this is fiction, not true, at least their version of it. But I think it's important, if you're going to put individuals in stressful situations within work, that they experience a bit of that stress. Agree or disagree as far as stress being an important component of an interview process?
We're a stressed out society. I swear, everybody wants to check your stress levels and see how you handle pressure. I mean, it's great because you got to, especially certain industries, but I just feel like always being tested for something, and I don't know. I'm going off the tangent here, but.
Oh, that's okay. All right, so the last section so that we can wrap up. What is the difference between recruiting and hiring?
Is there a difference? I don't know.
Maybe that in recruiting you're getting the candidates that you're going to hire. Recruiting is the process of finding the candidates to hire.
I would agree.
First step, the bridge between the candidate and the hiring. I don't know. It's maybe the bridge.
It's weeding out.
You can't have somebody. You can't hire somebody without them applying for the job, and they won't apply unless you're actively recruiting and making them want to have the job. So I think that's where the recruiting is. They interested in the positions that you have, and then they'll apply, and then you hire.
I think that's a perfect explanation of that, Zane. What did you learn about this case, or from this case, about recruiting, and then also about hiring?
Stand out.
Both aren't very fun.
Both aren't very fun.
I learned that we need to stand out, not just to just really think of to really know who we are and what we can offer, and not just try to sell an idea of who we are, because there's always going to be a job that you can apply for, different jobs. So we just have to be true to ourselves, because that will show and reflect, and we'll make a connection to these, recruiters or whoever else we work with, clients, and so on and so on. So not to just think of a hiring interview as a means to an end, but really, like, who am I? What can I offer? And, to find your place in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a little philosophical right now. Find the true self. Oh, something. Anyways, it's getting late.
Also, I think from the other side, if as being people that maybe we will be, interviewing candidates in the future, or whatever, just having a good pool of people to pull from to hire, I think is important.
I think that HSB information said definitely 12 to pull from, which was an interesting concept, especially coming from oil and gas, where I was hiring drivers, and anyone who had their DOT license that didn't have accidents or tickets were viable candidates, and you didn't get to select from a pool of 12. It was often, just the first person that was through the door that we were bringing on. Okay, so thoughts in regards to today's discussion. I'm supposed to ask each of you how you would rate the quality of today's discussion from 0 to 10. I'm going to guess that 0 is not high quality and 10 is high.
I think last week's topic was a lot more engaging.
I would agree.
This week I felt like I'm giving some opinions on things that I don't really have experience on.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried my best. So I would say it has nothing to do with anybody. I think it's mostly the topic. I would say an 8.
Okay.
Just because I thought last week was a lot more engaging and personable.
All right, Margaret.
Okay, so what are we rating exactly?
We are rating the quality of today's.
We're rating Susan.
Oh, awesome.
Susan.
If we're
gonna
rating
go-
Susan, then I'll give her a 10.
Oh,
We're gonna exactly. She's a 10, like Trump style. We're gonna rate her.
Melanie
Oh man,
thought.
you were great, Susan. You're in top 10.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much. All right, Melanie, what's your score for the quality of our discussion today?
Well, kind of to echo Vanessa a little bit, I mean, I feel like we had a really good discussion. I just felt like when I read this stuff, I'm like, this is going to be kind of a drier discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was good though. You did a
Good.
good job, Susan.
And
Same
plus, we
here.
don't know who got hired. I mean, that sucks.
I agree.
I'm actually changing it back to a 7
Yeah.
because we don't know
Yeah.
the conclusion.
I'm going to change that to a 7. No conclusion given.
Exactly.
Hey, Zane, what's your thoughts?
We got to balance it out, so I'll just go with the 10 for you. You did good.
Oh, you're awesome. Thanks. Eric, how about you?
He fell asleep.
Oh, dang it.
She's
That's
frozen.
like a 4. I think we might have lost him. So let's see.
I think we lost him. At least he had his. Oh, there he is.
I would agree. I want someone to hold up like a 10 on a card. Not that I'm actually paying attention to what's on the video. Okay.
Are you really writing this down though?
Well, it says what I'm supposed to ask. So the last 2 questions, I'm just going to send to you guys via email, and that way we can get off a little bit quicker. And also, so that if you do have some criticism, you can share it openly and not worry about what anyone else says or thinks. So I will send those last 2 questions out to you, and I appreciate your time tonight, guys. I really do enjoy this, the group that we get to work with.
We do too. So next week,
everyone.
is Eric, right? The leader.
Yes.
Yeah, Eric,
Yeah.
you'll send the invite Tuesday night again?
I might have someone else do it because I do Google Hangouts through my phone.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, if I used my computer, it wouldn't be very good quality just because it's really glitchy. My phone's better. So,
I'm
yeah.
happy to do it for you if you'd like me to record it.
All right, I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Margaret, for doing that. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty. We'll see you next
Have a
Tuesday.
wonderful evening.
Hopefully with a new
Sounds
baby.
good.
All right.
Good luck,
So
Vanessa.
done. Thank you.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.